So we're finally there. The huge breaking news is out there today that Florian Wirtz will be a Liverpool player because Liverpool have agreed a deal with Bayer Leverkusen for the Germany midfielder. Now, that is going to be a £116 million deal in total, so a pretty big one in the end, as we knew it was always going to be. As I said, consistently throughout this, Liverpool have gone into this with their eyes wide open. They knew they were going to have to pay a huge sum of money to get him. So highly rated is Florian Wirtz, and that is exactly what they've done. Now, breakdown of that 116 million fee is that it's 100 million guaranteed, as I revealed on my video on Wednesday, providing an update on this situation. That was the part of the deal that was absolutely nailed down and always going to be the case. And now we finally got the information that it's going to be £16 million worth in add-ons. Now, Liverpool, their side of things, they are insisting therefore that it's not actually a British transfer record because, of course, those add-ons need to be triggered. But of course it will go down as one because the total amount for the fee is 116 million, isn't it? So that outstrips the 115 million that Chelsea paid for Moises Caicedo. I actually think it's a strange one really with the British transfer record, because if you look on certain sources, they say it's Enzo Fernandez's move for Chelsea because there was more in a guaranteed amount, and that went down as 106 million. So it's kind of difficult to judge that one, but I think overall, generally people tend to say the entire package, and in this case the entire package is 116 million. So if you take it on that value, then it will be a British transfer record. Just to talk a little bit about those add-ons as well, they are described by Liverpool's sources as aspirational add-ons and targets for Wirtz to trigger. Now, it would require a kind of sustained elite level success for Liverpool to trigger those add-ons. That means, of course, winning further Premier League titles, winning the Champions League. Also, maybe there's a Ballon d'Or clause in there. I know some players that does get invoked, and I think with Wirtz, all the talk about him in terms of the level of quality, his age coming in, the fact he's just going to get better and better, maybe he will be in the mix for that further down the line, because he's that sort of level of talent, certainly the way people speak about him. So, maybe there's a Ballon d'Or clause in those add-ons as well. We maybe know the exact details of that just yet, but as I say, definitely some team success as well in terms of Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues. And I think from Liverpool's perspective, if they get a player who brings them more titles, more Champions League wins, goes on to win the Ballon d'Or himself, then they pretty much won't mind paying that extra 16 million, will they? Because they will certainly be banking that sort of amount in prize money from those competitions as well. So they won't be against him triggering those, that's for sure. And it's an interesting one really, the ability to spend that sort of money. Obviously a club record, perhaps even a British transfer record, depending on how you want to scale it. We're not maybe used to Liverpool going to those huge amounts, and this is actually the first time, if they do consider it a British transfer record, that they've broken that since buying Stan Collymore way back when. So it's a long time since they've been able to do that, and they attribute that really, Liverpool sources, to the discipline that they've shown in past windows. So you think back to last summer, would have been so easy to try and think we've got to back the manager, the new manager somehow. He's got to be able to give him the tools to retool his squad, having come in and succeeded Jurgen Klopp, but they only in the end signed a keeper who's coming in this season in Mamardashvili, and then of course Federico Chiesa, who was a little bit of a cheap gamble that didn't really work out in the end. But he showed discipline in not going too far in those windows, knowing that opportunities were going to come up. Similarly, in January, they could have panicked and thought we need to spend to make sure we get the title over the line, but they kind of held the nerve in that moment, kept the powder dry, and that allowed them to kind of save their money up really, to allow them to put all the money, pool the resources together for this opportunity in Wirtz, which at the time we didn't think would be something that would be open to Liverpool, but of course it was in the end. And they put him in that category. The willingness to spend that amount of money on him is because he's in a category alongside a Virgil van Dijk or an Alisson, which is, this recruitment staff say that if we do find someone like that who we think is a complete unicorn, is a transformative signing, we will go out there and pay big money for them. So, we often talk about Liverpool's Moneyball approach and the fact that they'll look for cheap, undervalued signings a lot of the time. But they've shown consistently in the past, if one of those signings comes up that is worth in the hundreds of millions, or well, maybe not quite that amount, but think of Van Dijk, who at the time was the most expensive defender of all time. Alisson at the time was the most expensive goalkeeper of all time. they proved to be good value for money. So in keeping with the strategy, because they were such good players and they were of that level, and Wirtz, they consider the recruitment staff, he is of that level, a transformative signing that's really going to change things for Liverpool and going to be a mainstay for them for a long time. So I think that should kind of trigger some excitement in fans that they believe he is of that level. Of course, he's got to go and prove it now, but this is, that's the whole strategy behind signing him, was to kind of keep the powder dry till the opportunity came up and then go big on him because they think he is of that level. And of course, it has been a challenge to get this one over the line for Liverpool. They acknowledged that there was competition there, huge competition. In fact, not just Bayern Munich were there right up until the death, weren't they? Manchester City pulled out a little bit earlier when it became clear the direction of travel. And they also believed that Real Madrid were quite strongly interested in the player as well. So, I mean, for Liverpool to win a race like that, we've got to be honest, it's not something we've seen in a long time, really, in recent years, is it? Usually when those heavyweight clubs are involved, usually Liverpool would have tended to miss out on those. But I think it says a lot about the journey that this team is on, that the club is on in general, or has been on in recent years, that they are now able to win those sorts of battles. Of course, it does require a lot of player buy-in, and they suggest that Wirtz has rejected more money from other clubs and higher wages to come to Liverpool. But the reason they've been able to foster that buy-in, you have to say, is because the club has been so well run in recent years. This is a team that, maybe under Jurgen Klopp didn't win quite as much as it maybe deserved to, but is always there challenging for titles now, turns over huge amounts of money to make sure that it consistently is in that position to do so. Has built a new training ground recently, which Wirtz managed to visit to do a training session while he was over with Bayer Leverkusen, so we'll have seen how impressive that is. Of course, Anfield, 2 new stands and the infrastructure that's improved there. So all the things have kind of come together to make this such an appealing package for the player. And I think it is, this signing is a huge statement about where this club is going at the moment. You think back to prior to the Jurgen Klopp years and prior to really FSG coming in and finally getting things right. A signing like this felt like a million miles away at that point when FSG took the club over, but they've managed to get them slowly but surely, turn them into a commercial giant, do all the infrastructure work that I've talked about, and make the team better and better every year. And because they've done that, you're in a position now to battle Real Madrid, to battle Bayern Munich, to battle Man City, and win to sign players. And I just think that is a huge statement around where Liverpool are up to, and a really, really important one, and one that should make every Liverpool supporter very excited for what's to come in the short-term future as well. Now, of course, to get this deal completely finalised, Liverpool have to do a medical, have to bring him over to do his interviews and things like that. And there's no plans in place for that to happen, it's my understanding at the moment, so I'm not quite sure that he's going to be over before the weekend or anything like that. I think it's going to have to maybe wait. The player, as I understand it, is on his holidays at the moment. And Liverpool, of course, they're not in any kind of rush either to get that done. Of course, the window only opens again on June the 16th, so they can finalise it then. So they've got to, they might as well wait around, let the player have his holidays. The deal is agreed, in place. The player's willing and ready to come over for his medicals whenever they need to do that. So maybe a little bit of a waiting game on terms of the interview and all those sort of aspects of things. But I think the main thing is that the deal is agreed now with Bayer Leverkusen, and the deal is in place, and it is £116 million in total, a huge one. So that is, I think everybody can get excited now and start looking forward to him coming in and making his debut, albeit in a friendly, on July 8th at Preston North End. So very, very exciting times for Liverpool supporters, that's for sure. So, going to wrap it up there. We've got another one over the line for Liverpool. Very, very exciting times. Do let me know in the comments your thoughts on this signing. How big of a signing is this one? And, how excited are you to see him in a Liverpool shirt? And what does it say about where this club is up to nowadays as well? Do let me know your thoughts on that, and I'll leave it there and say if you can like and subscribe, because I'm sure you're all feeling in a very good mood, and that would be very helpful to me as well. Then it would be massively appreciated, and I'll see you guys very soon.